Look, did we really think it was going to be over in one night, the first night? Would the fake news Democratic establishment let that happen? The same one that told us this president was a traitor, that impeached him over a nonsense phone call? How about Russia, Russia, Russia? They waged that. How about this? They never give him credit for just about anything. Now, let's think for a moment. Everything that the president has overcome in his presidency, a lot. Just one of these episodes, one of them, like the niece writing the book or the porn star or anything, would have killed, literally killed, a normal politician, okay? For President Trump, he just brushes it off and goes back to work for the American people. Do we really think that a guy like Joe Biden is going to stop this president? I don't believe so. And a couple of things came through to me last night, just kind of watching the returns and thinking about our president and thinking about Joe. You know, if he goes down, and I believe he will, one of the things that will be written in his political obituary, he never adequately addressed the situation with Hunter Biden. Hasn't really talked about it. Just says there's nothing there, and then gets real angry, right? And the media, they never asked the most basic questions that should have been asked. He got to go on national television, debate stage after debate stage, and it was never asked basic questions like, is this laptop Hunter Biden's? Did you actually arrange that meeting with the Burisma executive? Quite frankly, that shows a lack of respect for all of us, that the media would not do that. And they don't like him. They don't like us. And they've been saying for so long that he would lose, Donald Trump, that they're not to be trusted. They are not to be trusted right now at this juncture. So where are we? You heard Sean. He mentioned Arizona, Nevada. There's some legal challenges in Wisconsin and Michigan. Pennsylvania, it looks like we're in command in Pennsylvania. This can work out very, very easily, in fact, and we may see some dramatic developments as soon as tonight. But the fake news, they want you to be discouraged. It really is the opposite situation, because for literally years, they've been saying that whoever runs against Donald Trump would win, that 2016 was some sort of crazy fluke. It's not happening. Not happening at all. Remember the whole thing about the blue wave? I even heard blue tsunami. But blue wave was what they really talked about. It would take out Trump. It would take out all of his supporters on Capitol Hill. This is from last month. Watch.
Opinion contributor Bill Schneider writes, quote, "There's a wave coming, a blue wave like the one in 2018, only bigger, much bigger, big enough to sweep away President Trump and the Republican majority in the Senate."
Now, we never bought that, but the thing is, they kind of convinced themselves that that was going to happen, a landslide. They were wrong because they're lazy and they don't understand us, and they're not even curious about us. They just want everything to go back to normal. The old swamp where they can be lazy, greedy snakes. Forgive me, but yes, I think that applies. I want to recap a little bit of last night, some of the highlights in my book. Newsmax, our coverage here was outstanding and truly provided an alternative, a needed alternative. Mark Halperin and Sean Spicer were absolutely brilliant, and their only agenda was the truth. And I'm telling you, it just came across on screen. I would go around the dial. Everyone else, they were clearly rooting for the other side. And over at Fox, they seem to have all kinds of complicated motives these days. I really can't figure out what their agenda is. But early in the evening, I got a pretty good feeling about how the night was going to turn out.
Florida 51-48 right now. That has been called for the president.
That's in Florida what we call a landslide.
It's always a tight state. He keeps Florida, Sean.
So as that was giving us a really good feeling, that was totally freaking out the mainstream media, the fake news. And they were like, what are we going to do about this? And I believe they were making sure that arrangements were being made in states like Michigan, states like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and so on and so on and so on. But Florida, the numbers were so big they couldn't deny it, even though they tried. I don't know if they were buying themselves time, but that was about 8 o'clock that Newsmax called Florida for Donald Trump. NBC did not do it until well after midnight. And by the way, the whole vibe over there was like a funeral.
We've got a big call to make. It's official now. NBC projects Florida goes to President Donald Trump. We've been watching this all night. We've been very careful, but this is going to go into the Trump column, an absolute must-win for him.
We've been very careful and very reluctant to do this, but we have to, and it's late, so I guess we will. But we're told that other things have been arranged. So anyway, they were like holding their nose when they did it. It was weird. Meanwhile, Fox told you about their conflicting agenda, and also it was not a lot of energy over there. It was like, again, some sort of funeral scene. But they called Arizona for Joe Biden weirdly early. They were the first, I believe, and they did not have the numbers, the data to do it. I think there might have been some internal bickering over there, but they pulled the trigger and they called Arizona for Joe Biden.
Yeah. The Fox News Decision Desk is calling Arizona for Joe Biden. That is a big get for the Biden campaign. It's also signals that it's a good night for Mark Kelly, the Democratic Senate candidate against Martha McSally there. But Biden picking up Arizona changes the math.
Yeah, changes the math, and I think that's why they did it, early. Makes no sense. It signals that they've got conflicting agendas, because Arizona, we got hundreds of thousands of outstanding votes that have not been counted, and the Trump forces are very confident that we could see this fall into the win category for Donald Trump. Another thing that I thought was just appallingly bad. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anything quite as bad. But last night, it's a historic night, right? Election night. We heard from Joe Biden at one point, and then out comes President Trump. This is the president of the United States on election night. It's a very close election, and he speaks, not for terribly long, by the way. What was it, 7 minutes? Less than 10. And he was interrupted. NBC News anchors just jumped in. They tried to do that whole fact check routine, which I told you almost always blows up in the fact checker's face.
I've been saying this from the day I heard they were going to send out tens of millions of ballots.
We're listening to the president speaking at the White House, but we got to dip in here because there have been several statements that are just frankly not true.
It's a very sad moment. To me, this is a very sad moment, and we will win this. And we, as far as I'm concerned, we already have won it. So I just want to thank you.
We are reluctant to step in, but duty-bound to point out when he says we did win this election, we've already won, that is not based in the facts at all. Again, there are millions of votes yet to be counted. Our presidents don't select our victors.
No, but liars like Brian Williams do? I'm sorry, but put them both up. Savannah Guthrie and Brian Williams. Savannah, by the way, she's married to a high-level Democratic operative. She makes about $1.5 million a month. Consider that, all right? Maybe you do probably some pretty strange things to keep a job like that as well. Brian Williams, he's got significant issues. I mean, remember, years ago, maybe you've forgotten. But the guy, I'm sorry, a serial liar, telling grand stories about himself that not true. And there he is, fact-checking our president and telling us that he's the one who decides who wins. No, it doesn't work that way. Something that came out last night I thought was fascinating, and most of the media missed it. The president, his courting of black and brown people is paying dividends. And he wasn't getting this support just by being nice. It was substance, criminal justice reform, the funding of historically black colleges and universities. Black community, Hispanic community, they noticed in a big way. You know, he doubled his support last night among African-American women. Among black men, it went up some 40%. This is huge. This is seismic. And this could have lasting implications for the Republican Party. He also, I think, won a majority of Latinos in Florida. This is big, big stuff. And this is stuff that the media are not talking about right now. They just want to, they're up to all kinds of stuff. I'm convinced they can knock themselves out because I told you about all the obstacles our president has gotten through. There's a reason for that. I really think so. He's in God's hands. And all of this really is in God's hands. Did you see this photo? Came out a couple of days ago. It's not trick photography. That really happened. And I think it's absolutely beautiful and it's significant. So again, it's in God's hands. Don't worry. Be vigilant. We got to be aggressive. We got to defend our turf. But this is all going to work out.